Ah, daylight savings time. The twice-a-year tradition that throws our schedules into chaos and somehow convinces us it's normal to mess with the clocks. Spring forward, fall back, and cue the collective confusion. When it's time to fall back, we get an extra hour. But it comes with a price. Shorter days, longer nights, and a body clock that's as disoriented as a cat in a thunderstorm. Sure, it sounds simple enough, but ask anyone trying to reset their microwave clock, and they'll tell you, this is no casual event. So, what's the secret to surviving this biannual time shift without losing your mind, or your sense of time altogether? Preparation, a little humor, and a solid plan for that extra hour you're gifted. Falling back might sound cozy, but the sudden shift can lead to some unexpected side effects. Early sunsets, confused sleep schedules, and the feeling that it's bedtime as soon as it gets dark. At 5 p.m. Whether you're a morning person or a night owl, everyone feels the impact of the time change. But with a few tricks up your sleeve, you can handle it like a pro. This guide is packed with practical tips to keep your energy up, make the most of the early darkness, and avoid becoming one of those people who suddenly decides to go to bed at dinner time. Think of it as a survival guide for navigating the twilight hours without falling into hibernation mode. So grab your coziest blanket, maybe a flashlight, for all the clocks you'll be fumbling with in the dark, and let's dive into the do's and don'ts of daylight savings survival. Because while we might not be able to control the clocks, we can at least get through it with our sleep, sanity, and sense of humor intact. Tip 1. Prep your sleep schedule ahead of time. The most common mistake people make when daylight savings rolls around is thinking they can just wing it. An extra hour of sleep, I'll just go to bed at the same time, you say, optimistic and unprepared. But let's be real. Your body clock isn't as easily fooled as your microwave. That extra hour can turn into a week of waking up too early or feeling like a zombie if you don't play your cards right. So here's the game plan. Start adjusting your bedtime little by little, about a week before the clocks roll back. Think of it like training for a marathon, but instead of running, you're gradually retreating to your bed 10 to 15 minutes earlier each night. It's not quite as intense as carb loading, but hey, no one's stopping you from enjoying some extra pasta for the cause. By the time the big night arrives, you'll be ready to embrace that extra hour like a sleep champion. No groggy mornings in sight. Now you might be wondering, does this really make a difference? Well, have you ever tried jumping into a cold pool versus easing in one toe at a time? The shock factor is real, and your body feels the same way about sudden schedule shifts. By moving your bedtime back gradually, you're giving your internal clock a heads up, like a courteous party host letting the neighbors know things might get a little loud. This way, you avoid the sleep whiplash that comes from abruptly resetting your routine. And hey, if you're a parent or pet owner, you'll need to prep your little ones and furry friends too. Kids and animals don't care what the clock says. They operate on pure instinct and the desire for breakfast at the usual time, regardless of what your bedside alarm shows. Start their bedtime shift early, and you might just avoid the 5 a.m. wake-up call from a toddler who didn't get the daylight savings memo. So, with a little foresight and some strategic bedtime management, you'll breeze through the time change like it's no big deal. Your body will thank you, your mornings will feel less like a rude awakening, and you'll have the added bonus of feeling smugly prepared when everyone else is complaining about their messed up sleep. Now that's what we call winning daylight savings. Tip 2. Reset all clocks in advance. Yes, all of them. It's a classic rookie mistake. You remember to change the clock on your phone because it does it for you, bless its heart, but completely forget about everything else. Then, the next day, you're walking through your house, thinking you have an hour to spare, only to realize, with horror, that you're late for brunch because the oven clock is lying to you. This is why a clock sweep the night before is absolutely essential. Start with the obvious culprits, your microwave, oven, and car dashboard. These clocks are sneaky little devils, refusing to auto-update and waiting to catch you off guard. While your smartphone may be a loyal, time-adjusting companion, these household clocks operate on pure mischief. Just imagine confidently strolling into your kitchen at 8 a.m. for coffee, only to realize it's actually 9. Don't let those appliances fool you. They're not on your side. And don't forget the hidden clocks. Do you have an old-school alarm clock collecting dust on the nightstand? A wall clock in the garage? That strange little timer on your coffee maker? Every last one of them needs to be adjusted. And sure, It might feel a little silly tracking down every single clock in your house, but it's a lot less silly than being the only person running on pre-time change hours the next morning. For maximum efficiency, make it a mission. Grab a cup of coffee, set a timer, and see how fast you can hit every clock in the house. Bonus points if you do it while humming the Mission Impossible theme song. And hey, you'll feel like a time warp wizard, conquering every last sneaky device that would dare to confuse you. With all clocks reset, you'll wake up the next morning in a world of synchronized time, free from surprise late arrivals or early alarms. And honestly, isn't that the most satisfying feeling? Not a minute wasted. No surprises waiting in the kitchen. You, my friend, are a master of time itself. Tip 3. Maximize that extra hour. We all love the sound of falling back, because it feels like we're being handed a freebie. A full 60 minutes of glorious extra time. But without a plan, that hour can disappear faster than candy on Halloween. Instead of aimlessly scrolling through your phone or zoning out in front of the TV, use this hour like it's a golden ticket. First, ask yourself, what's something I always say I don't have time for? Maybe it's finishing that book you started 6 months ago, catching up on sleep, or calling a friend who lives a few time zones away. Whatever it is, this hour is your chance to check something off the list. Imagine the satisfaction of actually having something to show for daylight savings, besides an oddly timed breakfast craving. If you're a fan of naps, and let's be honest, who isn't? Consider using this bonus hour to catch some Z's. A well-timed nap during the time change can be like hitting the refresh button on your entire week. Just make sure to set an alarm so you don't end up accidentally falling forward and losing your whole morning. For those who prefer a little self-care, this is the perfect time to indulge. Light a candle, do some stretches, or try a quick meditation to reset both your body and mind. Not only will you feel more centered, but you'll also go into the shorter days with a sense of calm that no amount of early sunsets can disrupt. Whatever you choose, make it something you genuinely enjoy. This hour isn't about getting extra work done. It's about embracing the gift of time and using it in a way that actually feels good. After all, daylight savings only gives you this one little perk, so make it count. Treat it like the time equivalent of a surprise snack in the fridge. Enjoy it, savor it, and let it add a little joy to your day. Tip 4. Go outside to soak up the daylight. With the clocks rolling back, daylight is about to get a bit elusive. You'll leave work and bam, it's dark outside, like the sun just said. You're on your own. But here's a little daylight savings hack. Make a conscious effort to get outside during the day, especially in the morning. Think of it as stocking up on daylight, like you're filling a jar with sunshine to get you through the darker evenings. Getting some sunlight in the morning can do wonders for your energy levels, helping to set your internal clock and stave off that winter gloom. Try stepping out for a morning walk, sitting by a sunny window with your coffee, or even running errands during daylight hours if you can. Not only does it make you feel more awake, but the extra vitamin D is like a natural mood boost. And let's be honest, we could all use a little boost when it feels like nightfall comes at 5 p.m. If you're in an office all day, grab lunch outside or take a quick break in the nearest patch of sunshine. Yes, you might look like a sunflower leaning toward the light, but that's better than feeling like a nocturnal creature by dinner time. The more daylight you soak up during the day, the less the early evening darkness will mess with your internal rhythm. And if you're feeling ambitious, you can even make a little ritual of it. Sunlight in the morning and maybe a cozy lamp in the evening as the daylight fades. You're not just surviving daylight savings, you're thriving in your own DIY light therapy. So go ahead, step outside, and gather those rays while you can, because winter's coming, and every ounce of daylight counts. Tip 5. Embrace cozy comforts to offset the early darkness. Once daylight savings hits, evenings can feel like they've been stretched out by a few extra hours of pure darkness. It's like the universe decided to hit dim mode on everything. And suddenly, 6 p.m. feels like midnight. So, instead of fighting the early sunsets, lean in and embrace the coziness they bring. Think of it as the perfect excuse to indulge in all things warm and fuzzy. First, stock up on the essentials: blankets, candles, hot drinks, and maybe a few books or movies you've been meaning to enjoy. Create a little evening ritual for yourself. Make tea, turn on your favorite music, or light a candle that smells like fall. Basically, make your space so cozy that even the early darkness feels welcoming. Who needs daylight when you have a personal sanctuary of comfort? If you're feeling fancy, take it up a notch with some mood lighting. Fairy lights, a warm lamp, or even a good old lava lamp can bring a soft glow that keeps the evening from feeling too harsh. Remember, you're not just adjusting to the time change, you're creating an ambiance. It's like a spa retreat, but in your own living room, and minus the high fees. The best part? This cozy approach is an all-access pass to comfort food season. Hot cocoa, soups, hearty casseroles. Bring out the comfort dishes that feel like a hug in food form. The early darkness becomes way more bearable when you're sipping something warm and delicious. So, instead of dreading the evening fade, look forward to it. Lean into the coziness, savor the quiet, and let your space transform into the ultimate winter retreat. By embracing the early nightfall, you'll turn the darkness into a friend rather than a foe, and that's a daylight savings win. Tip 6. Be kind to your body clock. It's just as confused as you are. The tricky part about daylight savings is that while the clocks may change, your body doesn't exactly get the memo. For your internal clock, this whole falling back business is like being told, "Surprise! We're switching up the schedule." Cue the grogginess, the confused wake-up times, and the occasional moment where you have no idea what time it actually feels like. To make the adjustment smoother, start by sticking to a consistent schedule for meals, exercise, and sleep. Your body clock thrives on routine, so keeping things predictable will help it adapt faster. Think of it as giving your inner timekeeper a friendly nudge in the right direction. If you're feeling groggy during the day, go easy on yourself and allow for some extra rest. The shift won't last forever, and within a week or two, your body will settle in. Avoid the temptation to rely on caffeine for that energy boost, though. Too much coffee can throw your sleep schedule into even more chaos. Instead, try healthier pick-me-ups like a brisk walk, a glass of water, or a snack that gives you a natural energy lift. Think nuts or fresh fruit. Your body is already dealing with a time warp. No need to add a caffeine roller coaster to the mix. And if you're still feeling a little off, a little self-compassion goes a long way. Adjusting to daylight savings isn't about snapping into a new rhythm instantly. It's about easing into it gradually. Your body's been through a lot of time twists already, so cut it some slack and embrace a few extra minutes of sleep if you need them. In a few days, you'll be back on track, and your body clock will catch up to the new rhythm. Until then, remember that the grogginess is just part of the process, and before long, you'll barely notice the change. Just go easy on yourself, keep things consistent, and let your internal clock settle into the groove. Tip 7. Keep your energy levels up with healthy snacks. When the days get shorter, so does our energy. The early darkness has a way of convincing your brain that it's bedtime by 6 p.m. Cue the urge to cozy up on the couch and call it a night long before you actually should. But, with the right fuel, you can keep your energy levels steady without feeling like you need to hibernate until spring. Start by stocking up on healthy snacks that provide a natural boost, like nuts, fruit, and yogurt. Think of them as your mini survival rations for the darker days. Nuts, in particular, are packed with protein and healthy fats that give you a slow burn kind of energy, so you're not crashing an hour later. Keep a stash in your bag, desk, or car for whenever that early evening slump sneaks up on you. If you're craving something sweet, go for dark chocolate. Not only does it taste amazing, but it also provides a little energy boost without the intense sugar crash you'd get from regular candy. Plus, it feels indulgent, like a little treat to brighten those darker hours. A few squares of dark chocolate can do wonders for both your mood and your energy levels. And remember to stay hydrated. Dehydration is one of the sneakiest energy drainers out there. So before you reach for more caffeine or sugar, try drinking a glass of water first. Sometimes it's just what you need to feel alert without overloading on snacks. By choosing the right snacks, you'll keep your energy steady throughout the evening, and those early sunsets won't feel quite as daunting. With a few energy-boosting bites, you'll stay fueled and ready to tackle whatever the shorter days throw at you. Because daylight savings might try to steal your energy, but you've got the snacks to fight back. Tip 8. Combat the early darkness blues with a mini evening adventure. One of the trickiest parts of daylight savings is the sudden plunge into early darkness. Before you know it, it's pitch black outside, and your mind's playing tricks on you, convincing you that the day is officially over. To avoid slipping into the evening blues, give your brain a boost by planning a mini evening adventure. Something out of the ordinary that brings a bit of brightness to the darker hours. First, try switching things up with a night walk or a post-sunset stroll around your neighborhood. There's something refreshing and oddly cozy about bundling up, stepping outside, and seeing your surroundings in a new light. Street lights, porch lanterns, and the glow from your neighbor's windows. Plus, a little exercise releases endorphins, which can help shake off that early evening sluggishness. If the weather's not on your side, get creative indoors. Set up a movie night with all the works: blankets, popcorn, dim lighting, and your favorite film. Or go for something more interactive like an evening game night, a virtual gathering with friends, or even a solo board game marathon. By giving yourself an engaging activity, you're mentally extending the day and fighting off the feeling that it's all over just because it's dark outside. Another option? Treat yourself to an evening project or hobby that you only do after dark. Maybe it's a craft you've wanted to try, a book you only read by candlelight, or a playlist you've created just for these longer nights. Giving yourself something unique to look forward to each evening keeps your routine fresh and helps the early darkness feel less of a limitation and more of a cozy invitation. So, when daylight fades earlier than you'd like, lean into it with a mini adventure or an out-of-the-ordinary evening. You'll soon find that a bit of novelty can go a long way in keeping the early darkness blues at bay. After all, if you can't beat the dark, you might as well enjoy it. Tip 9. Use the early darkness to boost productivity with night owl goals. Here's a twist. Rather than seeing the early darkness as a downer, use it as a cue to tackle a few small, productive tasks that you'd normally leave for later. The idea is simple. Create a mini night owl goal list. This could include anything from tidying up, organizing a drawer, setting up tomorrow's to-dos, or even doing a quick stretch or workout routine. The darker evenings become an opportunity to tie up loose ends without the pressure of a full day. Start by picking 2 or 3 night owl goals that are small enough to be manageable but meaningful enough to make you feel accomplished. For instance, a quick 10-minute cleanup, prepping your breakfast ingredients for the next morning, or taking a moment to write out tomorrow's tasks. The early nightfall is perfect for these kinds of tasks. No distractions, no rush, just quiet time to get things done. This isn't about creating a full evening work schedule. It's about sneaking in small wins that keep you feeling on top of things even as the days grow shorter. When you set a few of these easy goals, the early nightfall becomes a productivity hack instead of a nuisance. You'll find yourself making use of the evening in a way that leaves you feeling prepared and in control. And as a bonus, you get that satisfying end-of-day feeling that comes with finishing a few tasks. So, next time the early sunset rolls around, put it to use with a handful of productive mini-goals. It'll make your evenings feel more purposeful, keep you energized, and remind you that the darkness doesn't have to bring your day to an end. It just shifts the focus a little. Tip 10. Laugh it off, because it's only twice a year. Daylight savings can feel like one big practical joke from the universe, and if there's one way to handle it, it's with a sense of humor. Sure, the time shift might throw off your sleep, make you feel like you're living in a cave by 5 p.m., and confuse every clock you own. But the upside? You're in good company, and laughter is often the best survival strategy. Start by embracing the absurdity. Give yourself permission to chuckle at the little inconveniences, like setting the oven clock 3 times because you accidentally keep springing forward instead of falling back. Or laughing at how your pet's feeding schedule is completely thrown off, leading to the stare of betrayal from your dog every morning. These small moments are just part of the annual time change comedy, and they're way more bearable if you lean into the humor. If you're really feeling it, turn the time change into a tiny celebration. Declare it your personal bonus hour festival and plan something silly, like a spontaneous dance break, a mini indoor picnic. or even a round of daylight savings charades with friends or family. Lean into the weirdness of it all. After all, daylight savings is an odd tradition. Why not treat it like one? Finally, find solidarity with others who are equally puzzled by the time warp. Send a funny meme to a friend. Text your family about how you won an hour, or share your daylight savings mishaps on social media. Half the fun of this strange ritual is bonding over the shared confusion. Remember, daylight savings is just a twice-a-year quirk, and if you can laugh through it, you'll make it out with your sanity intact, and maybe even a good story or two. So reset your clocks, smile at the absurdity, and remind yourself that, in the grand scheme, it's just a blip on the calendar. Embrace the humor, and you'll find that falling back isn't so bad after all. Congratulations. You've officially navigated the semi-annual, somewhat absurd ritual that is falling back for daylight savings. You've reset clocks, resisted the siren song of 7 p.m. bedtimes, soaked up whatever daylight you could find, and maybe even convinced yourself that an extra hour is a gift. But let's be real. Daylight savings is a quirky tradition that seems to have been designed purely for our collective amusement or frustration. Either way, you survived. As you go forth into the shorter days, remember that you're now a daylight savings veteran. You've learned how to laugh off the confusion, turn early sunsets into cozy evenings, and fend off the temptation to declare nighttime the second it gets dark. And if things feel a little strange over the next few days, just remember that every other clock-watching soul is going through the exact same time warp. Of course, if you catch yourself wandering the house at 5 p.m., wondering why it feels like midnight, take heart. This too shall pass. In fact, in a few months we'll be right back at it, springing forward and having yet another existential crisis over lost hours and clock resets. But for now, let's enjoy this extra hour while it lasts. Maybe even use it to brainstorm ways we can avoid this twice-yearly chaos altogether. Petition anyone? So here's to making it through daylight savings with your wits intact and maybe a few extra laughs. Grab that cozy blanket, light a candle, and celebrate your daylight savings survival in style. Because, in the end, you're not just adapting. You're thriving in the face of time change madness. Until next time, time travelers, may your clocks stay synced and your sense of humor stay sharp.